The first time we heard about the storm, Hurricane Michael was coming towards us probably maybe 2 days prior or longer.
I remember starting to notice that the storm was headed straight for Panama City, and for some reason I just never even thought that Panama City would be right in the line the way that it ended up being.
People are talking a little bit, but not a lot. But then by the end of the day, we had determined that yes, Hurricane Michael is possibly targeting, it looks like it's coming our way, but you never know with a hurricane. We're used to that here.
We were kind of trying to decide, do we stay, do we go, do we stay, do we go? I grew up on the beach, and I went through Hurricane Opal, Ivan, and so I was like, yeah, we'll be fine. It's always, they always say it's gonna be bad, and it's not bad.
The whole time you're thinking, this is not good. You know people who decided they have hurricane amnesia, if you will, and they don't necessarily think that it's ever going to come here or how bad it is and how bad could it be.
It became evident it was too late for us to leave if we were going to leave.
At 1:30 in the morning, we got in the car to literally try to outrun Hurricane Michael and drove to Atlanta. And it's a good thing we did because a giant tree fell through the middle of my parents' house the next day.
I remember getting a mattress, a twin-size mattress, and just putting it over our head. And we just buckled down in our laundry room and we rode the storm out.
Suddenly I lose power, phone stopped working, wind start howling. It became very evident that it was very serious at that point, and we went in the closet.
At that point you realize, okay, I'm into it, there is no exit strategy, let's hunker down and make it through this.
Our walls and everything was starting to cave in on us. The ceiling, sheetrock, everything was falling down.
We got a phone call from a friend who was staying at my sister's house, and he was terrified. He said the house is coming apart around me.
The rain started coming in the house, and the ceiling started to collapse, and we moved into the hallway under a mattress, and then the hallway ceiling blew out.
He was screaming on the phone, the house is coming apart around me, the house is coming apart, I'm gonna die.
Water started pouring in. You could hear things now starting to break off, hit. We didn't know what was going on.
I don't think I've ever been that scared in my life when that phone call came through.
I think 3 windows shattered in our home that seems like a gunshot. It was just boom, boom, boom. Very terrifying.
I remember receiving a text from Brian Grant, who's our director of rooms. It said a tree just landed on the living room roof, and it crushed that part of the roof. And then I want to say maybe 20 minutes later, he said another tree just hit on the opposite side of the house on that roof. And then silence. I mean, there was no more communication east or west. It was, you left everything up to your imagination at that point.
When the storm was done, it was the most eerie silence you've ever heard.
I was glued to my phone, I was glued to Facebook, just trying to find out if people were okay.
My neighbors had an AT&T phone. They were the ones who had to call me and give me the bad news that their house had done okay, but my house was pretty much destroyed. And then about an hour later, I got a text from a friend, and it was the picture of the corporate office.
Judy, who's my supervisor at Royal American Management, she called me and she was crying, and she sent me a text message, which was a picture of our corporate office, completely destroyed.
That was my other home. So now both of my homes are destroyed, and that is when I broke at that point and really kind of lost it.
We was locked in our home, in our road for 2 days. We could not get out.
By Friday night, I started to panic a little bit. I had less than half a tank of gas. My husband's car had a flat tire from going over a nail, and we didn't know how much food we were gonna have left.
Just seeing our entire city in complete devastation was just so overwhelming. And so I went to headed towards the office, and there was so much traffic and obstacles that I just pulled over in a parking lot down the street from our office and just walked.
So finally, when we were able to get out to see Panama City, coming back to look at Panama City and to look at our corporate office, it was very shocking.
We started to head there Saturday morning. We got stuck on 23rd Street in traffic for about an hour, and I started to panic we were going to run out of gas. And so I took my then 4-year-old out of the car because we were pretty close, and I was like, we're just going to walk. When I finally got there with her in hand, I see Jimmy Boyd and David Chapman, and I just start bawling, crying.
When I got there and saw the building in person for myself, it was just overcome with emotion.
And I just grabbed Jimmy Boyd, and he's a vice president of development, and I just hug him and I just cry. And then David just kind of is like, oh my gosh, Brittany, it's okay. He hugs me.
And I think everybody was just happy to see that people were alive and people were here, and people were here with a helping hand and trying to do what we could.
Just knowing the history of Royal American, how Mr. Chapman, he built this company, you know. It was very heartbreaking, to be honest with you, to see something that he actually built. I can't tell you, Mr. Chapman put his heart and soul in those properties. And so it was very heartbreaking to see the devastation.
I really kind of didn't know what to do, where to go. I didn't even know what a starting point was, but luckily the folks from our Orlando office pulled up in a U-Haul about that time, and they had fans and food and water and phones and the tent and blankets and everything that you could think of, even like Fix-A-Flat. We're running over nails and, you know, blowing out our tires, like all these little things that they had thought of, and I didn't even know they were on their way.
I got to that corporate office, and there was a tent. They were cooking food. They had more supplies than we could ever have used. They said, please take anything you need. And I did. I needed a tarp because most of the big sections of my roof had blown off, and of course there had been a lot of water in the house. And I was sitting in my driveway on the phone with my insurance agent, and a truck had pulled up behind me. So I walked up and I said, who are you? And he says, we're with Royal American. We're here to tarp your roof. And they literally walked up behind me at the moment I needed them most. That's the kind of company we work for. You know, they took care of us. They took care of us after that storm.
I can't tell you the aftermath, the people, the love, the support of the community. It was so overwhelming because I was in a position where I was not able to help or give as much as I wanted to. But just to see the love that's shown with our company, friends, family, all of us just coming together.
We were all there working and supporting each other. We all got really close during that time, for sure.
Just coming to the corporate office, you look at the building, but the heart of the people, it was just amazing to have supplies and different things that we needed here to get us through. It was amazing. It was amazing. I can't say enough about Royal American.
In times like this, you see more often, and certainly in this case, we saw the best of people.
It just was back to the basics of being a person, you know? I mean, you're just helping other people and coming together.
Everybody takes care of each other, and everybody came together as a family.
We got to know each other, I think, better than we ever could have in any other situation. We really formed bonds that I don't think can ever be broken.
There was just so much genuine care and concern and coming together as a company, doing whatever it took, no matter what your job description was, to help one another, whether it was personally or professionally. I can't tell you how proud I am of them.
Hurricane Michael changed this company for the better. It's always been a company based on community and helping each other and serving your community, but when it happens to you and everybody around you, it did something to unite us in a way that is undescribable.
It just really brightened our day, that knowing that through it all, we have each other.
I will say that I will never be able to work for another company ever after what these folks have done for all of us. You know, during the worst time of our lives, they were there for us.